What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another All-22 look at the Detroit Lions. And today, we are going to be diving into this Minnesota Vikings game. Today, we're going to be taking a look at both sides of the football, offense and defense, because it is a shortened week. We had Christmas on Monday, Lions play on Saturday, so we're going to knock both things out in one video. I try to limit as many plays as I could. There's a lot of things that I want to show, some good, some bad, but I try to limit some things. This one was a lot of fun to watch, man. There was a lot of fun to watch, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I know I told you guys right after the game I was so impressed with Ben Johnson's plan in this one for Jared Goff. And then ultimately when I look back at it, super impressed with what Ben Johnson did. I thought Jared Goff played a really good football game. Specifically, like, there was maybe a couple little examples. You're like, all right, maybe he missed that a little bit. There's a couple things I'll show. But for the most part, accuracy was on point a lot of the day, outside the numbers, decision-making, getting the ball out of his hands. Like, there was so much good there from an offensive spot, passing the football, 30 for 40. Give some credit to Goff. Give credit to the offensive line. They were on top of their responsibilities against the blitz. The game plan was on point. The running backs did their thing outside of the fumble. Man, there was just a lot of good to take a look at in offense. Now, of course, at the end of the game, there was like a sequence of flags, and then we had a weird snap that we didn't expect, and the Lions got behind the chains, and of course, they had to run the ball, and they gave it back and put their defense on the field to seal the deal. That was not great, but defensively, it was not perfect, right? We had some breakdowns. However, we had some clutch moments from this defense, some big-time plays. Of course, Melifonwu highlights that with his interception at the end of this one. But we're going to bounce around. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. We're going to start on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm going to try to talk about like a lot of things per clip. You guys know that because I'm not showing every single play. However, one thing that we did talk about in this game was looking to overload a side of the field. And I thought the Lions occasionally would do that. Now, we went out some balanced 2x2 looks just like this. You can see here pre-snap, and we were able to get some tells, I think, within coverage with some of the motion. Honestly, just as a whole, every time I would go back, and I know I've said this before, and I watched Jared Goff have to deal with Brian Flores as a defensive-minded coach, but now as the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, we know statistically Goff really never had any kind of good success against this defense. However, in this game, there was a ton of success, and this is why I give so much credit to Ben Johnson, because when I would watch those other games with Goff, I just feel like they didn't give him enough answers. It was like there just wasn't enough answers for him. There wasn't enough movement. There wasn't enough predictability for Goff, and it just seemed like things were difficult. Here comes Ben Johnson, and man, he's giving Goff answers, the movement pre-snap. Also give Goff credit, identifying coverage, getting into a look that he liked. The offensive line was on point. Like, everything had to work in unison for this thing to be consistent offensively, and it was. And I think here's a really good example early in the game. Of course, the Lions went down, scored a touchdown to open things up. It was beautiful. So we talked about a lot of different things in our preview, so there's going to be things that I kind of like talk about a little bit that we've talked about in the preview video to make it make sense. For example, first down blitzing was something I discussed. We'll take a look at some examples of that, and then of course, if you get to in a second long, they like to drop out in coverage, but also zone blitzing, right? We talked about how much this team blitzes. I think coming into the game it was like 47.7% blitzing. It was the highest in the league by far. However, what made them so difficult was two things. It was this guy, Harrison Smith, and you'll see it as we probably look through some of these clips. Some clips I left out of here, you see it as well. His ability to play corner. Essentially, he plays every single zone coverage position, right? He's not just going to play safety in zone coverage. He'll play everywhere. So there's that aspect. They can invert coverage. They can give you cloud looks. They can shake things up because he'll play everywhere. And then on top of that, you also have the aspect of they will zone blitz, right? It's not just man blitz. Not every time they blitz, you're getting man coverage in the back end. So it's hard to be very predictable for an offense and what they're going to do. So here you get this 2x2 look. It's balanced out. Defense is going to give you this quarters look, and the Lions essentially just overload it, right? They want to show the rush. They want to stack the line of scrimmage. So we take advantage of that here, and with Wits, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, this is one of the better plays, I think, from Goff in this game for him to avoid the pressure on this play. But you can see in this quarters coverage, because they're losing an underneath defender with the blitz, you can see Harrison Smith is underneath, so is Hicks, but they have one less underneath defender. Then you overload one side of the field, and then, of course, it's always about the route detail. I'm sure we'll point that out multiple times in this video, but the route detail has to be on point. It always seemingly is for the Lions. When things go well, the route detail is money. I think this is a great example. Watch Jamison Williams. He's going to take this off-ball underneath linebacker on this play, Hicks. Watch Jamison Williams here in the slot. He becomes their inside receiver. He's going to release outside and then push this out route. So he's going to take the underneath defender with him out of the play. Said you're overloading one side of the field with the fast motion, getting three guys on one side against a quarters look that's missing an underneath defender. So now St. Brown on this fast motion can take off upfield, push this outside cornerback who has that quarter, and then Kylie Freeman can use the speed to push vertically to push that safety out of the play. Now behind that you have St. Brown sit down. The underneath defender is now out of the play. He can sit down right in front of that cornerback and you create a huge gap to throw to. Then of course you can't forget the backside where you have the this little subtle kind of chip and then release, and he's going to run this drag and just sit down, which ultimately ends up kind of pulling down Harrison Smith on the play. So it leaves St. Brown wide open. Also, we're going to say this a lot, but the pass protection, responsibilities, man, not leaving free rushers. This was so impressive, and, man, you're going to have that against Dallas because you're going to have to deal with it again, arguably against better athletes, specifically Micah Parsons. But on a play like this, Graham Glasgow loses his block. Goff to slide up in the pocket, finds St. Brown wide open here. The design was on point. Goff makes the play, and, of course, that's a really good start. I think this is a great example to finding answers, all right? Let's take a look at this one. So as I said, motion, I thought we needed to see a lot of motion because it's something that I thought was just lacking a lot of times when you would see, like, Goff back with the LA Rams, playing the Dolphins when Flores was there, like, giving him answers pre-snap and allowing him, of course, there's also that aspect, I won't go all the way into it, but allowing Goff to make those checks at the line, right? We understand how that relationship was. I won't go down and we know, like, oh, he's talking his headset, telling him what to get to. But Goff having that responsibility at the line of scrimmage, and I think this was a game to perfectly show that off, like this, for example. So you can see defensively, they're kind of giving you a cover zero look here. Like they're blitzing everybody and they're potentially just manning up in the back end. So as you can see, he motions over David Montgomery to his right, offsets him to the right. Ellis, the safety on this play, you can see him right over Sam Laporta. He's now going to roll over to David Montgomery. So now Goff feels like he's getting that pressure look and they're getting singled up all over on the outside. So they make the adjustment and they're going to run a deep out route with Khalif Raymond right on the sticks, and they're going to push vertical on the outside here to get that one-on-one with speed in the slot, something that we also talked about. We said the game breakers in this game would be who? Guys with speed. Here's an example why. You're getting off coverage across the field. Now you can see Harrison Smith ultimately drops out, and so does a couple of defensive linemen. It could be even closer to a quarters look than just a cover zero look because here underneath they do have guys drop out. But you take away kind of that middle of the field where everything, they try to make it messy. They try to make the middle field really messy. And Goff's able to simplify that and say, okay, let me just get my route to the outside, Khalif Raymond, speed in the slot, three-step plant. I'm going to put it out there, and he's going to make a really good grab. Khalif made some big catches, but just little things like that, finding answers, allowing him to find the answers. Route detail, I think, again, perfect example of that. You can see they come out in kind of this three-receiver look to the left side. They nearly bunch it up a little bit. They have some little bit of wider splits on this play, but you can see the three defenders over top, safety, corner, corner, and with that, you're going to have them basically match up who runs to their area. And as you see here, it's the small detail to me, which is this. They're going to stack Jamison Williams behind Amon-Ra St. Brown. So again, they're kind of in that off coverage. They're not getting up and no one's pressing on this play. So they're going to stack Jamison Williams behind St. Brown, but kind of keep him inside, disallowing this cornerback, Caleb Evans, to dive on the route that he's going to throw. And then J-Mo does everything afterwards. Just a special play, which is awesome. We're starting to see a lot of that rack come into play. We saw that in college. Now we're starting to see it really come into play with the Lions as well these last couple weeks. Denver, now here against Minnesota. But watch this. So Khalif Raymond releases inside. So you can see this communication here. He's going to pass to Harrison Smith. He's going to take over this crossing route. But notice, you see how Jameis Williams stacks behind Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he's also inside of St. Brown. So he's going to push up on St. Brown on this play. And what that allows is that this cornerback can't dive, right? Because the guy that's technically on the outside at the beginning is St. Brown still on the play. Then when he breaks it out, now the cornerback is getting depth to deal with the stack plus Jameson's speed. Now you break him outside. He can't dive on the football. See St. Brown start to work into kind of a corner route. So it ultimately holds Caleb Evans over top. That way he can be the outside leverage if he breaks that route, which again leaves Jameson a lot of space underneath. And now, of course, you have a receiver with a ton of space. So once you get it to him, it's just what can J-Mo do for you after the catch? He's going to do work. And look, again, pass protection. This wasn't a very good blitz pickup, as you can see here from David Montgomery. But the assignments were sound, and that was the key. You're not giving up a free rusher, and then Jameson just does some magical stuff with the football in his hands for the second straight week. That was awesome. These are the things that we do see, and I hate to see them. You know, you'll get these, but I would love to see these things get cleaned up. But like here defensively, you get kind of what looks like a cover zero look, and as you're going to see, you just nobody covers the tight end essentially on this play, Josh Oliver. And it looks a little bit different than the look that you get pre-snap. You can see Alex on the line of scrimmage showing pressure, but you think maybe he's taking one of the tight ends. Maybe you're getting Kirby Joseph to take this other tight end, and this is why the cornerback's falling across because you're in man coverage. Well, they kind of disguise that. Instead, it looks like Alex, by design, is going to blitz off the edge here. Maybe he was supposed to take one of these tight ends, but he blitzes off the edge. If he then rolls down at the snap, it actually picks up TJ Hawkinson, a matchup that we talked about coming into this. But the issue becomes right here with with Oliver, who stays in initially, right, shows like he's going to block, and then he releases into the flat. Kirby Joseph seemingly on this play, all right, could have been Alex, but seemingly Kirby Joseph on this play, diving down to take away the passer when the tight end stays in originally. Like right here was like, oh, dang, he's throwing this football. The ball comes out, no one's in coverage in the back end, and that leads to like a 30-yard play to open things up for this offense. So, again, little things like that, they do need to be cleaned up. Now, here's one thing that I do really like about Khalil Dorsey. Again, it wasn't perfect. He gave up a shot play in this game. What I do like about Dorsey, and I think what the Lions like about it, is you get a lot of awareness with the player, a lot of awareness. Doesn't start focusing elsewhere. Disciplined eye, sticks with the route. Watch this here. Now, what you're getting is Kirby Joseph, and I think this is part of it because they're not switching this route, so they're not switching it to Kirby, allowing Kirby to dive down underneath, and then Khalil Dorsey becomes middle field safety. So you don't get that switch, which could have caused this receiver to be open. Instead, they plaster the routes here. And to me, that's because Kirby Joseph is going to play that single high safety, but he's going to step in front and take away a crossing route. So there's a lot of good that takes place here, but you don't get that, as you can see, you don't get that change of responsibility. Khalil Dorsey is still just going to stick with his man. So there's the return motion, right? Shows the loop motion, then he returns back outside. Dorsey's discipline, sticks with that, dives on it, takes it away, and then it's all the middle field stuff. You have Iffy on Justin Jefferson. You probably don't love that matchup one-on-one, and here's where they switch. Kirby notices they're running a crosser, so he steps down, takes it for Iffy, which essentially nullifies the pick play they're going to try to set up here with the two crossing routes. One thing Brian Branch does really well, as we know, gets really good depth around pick plays, so you can see him work around it, get back on top. They cover everything up here. You got Cam Sutton on Hockenson, and it's an incomplete pass. The main thing you pointed out about this, we know that they ended up scoring. We had a defensive flag. We had a dropped interception, and this would be your dropped interception right here. What I like about this is the initial communication, the initial switch on the bottom of the screen. Brian Branch, Cam Sutton. You can see they switch release. You get good communication there. They switch it off. They pass it off really well. Everything looks covered up. Seems like Alex Anzalone would probably have the inline tight end once again here, and that Jack Campbell would have the running back. So Jack takes the back. No one else really takes this inline tight end. Maybe they expected Hutchinson to just stick with him, but it's not that it necessarily doesn't work out, because like we saw last week, Alex Anzalone is just going to dive on the quarterback, and it actually works because it hurries him and it forces a missed pass. And if anything, if this is picked off, we're looking back like, good job, Alex. You saw it, right? You saw blood and you just attacked, and it was like, hey, you led to an interception. He doesn't get the original sack, however. As you can see right here, he just shoot through on the play fake, misses the sack. Now the tight end's going to release here late, and no one's going to stick with him. You can see Hutchinson had him initially, and maybe this was Hutchinson's responsibility. Maybe just like Hutch, stick with him if he releases. And Hutch dives down now on the quarterback, so the quarterback has him open, and he throws it, and Branch drops this interception. However, what I like about Branch from this one, more specifically, is the coverage that he does play here on Justin Jefferson. He boxes this dude out in the end zone. Like, this is pretty awesome right here. Boxes him out, dives down, nearly has an interception. That would have been an amazing play. Of course, they ultimately punch it into the end zone with a run, just like this. And this is another area coming into the game. We said, man, the focus. All right, weak side zone rushing. That's what they do a lot. We saw that last time we played them last season, and this would be a great example. So we talked about the Isaiah Bugs, right? They're going to be key, the nose tackles, because they're going to play those two eyes in our defense a lot of times schematically. So in a look like this, Isaiah Bugs, watch him get moved off the ball here. Doesn't get settled in right there. Bam. Doesn't have a good base or foundation, and he's flipped around. He's moved off the spot. So now he's unable to hold his ground and keep guys clean at the second level. Second thing I would say is Jack Campbell go, man. Like, I'm watching this, like, I would think, like, man, just fill. All right, there's nothing you really need to worry about here specifically. Everybody got the edge covered. I would think, man, just go. Like you see it. It's such a short yardage situation. Just dive on this play. I understand why he doesn't, right? He's trying to play patient, fill his lane. But it's like, bro, if you just shoot through here, you might be able to give us a chance to get a tackle for loss. He kind of waits on it. You can see Brian Branch has the backside, but it's the front side where really the issue comes into play. But again, that's where I'm like, man, just go. Like that, he could have probably just went on that play. Now, this is what we also talked about, which is on second and long, what did they do? Usually drop out in coverage. So it'll look just like this. They go to a Tampa 2 look here defensively, and you're going to see they're going to bring that three-man rush. They actually had a sack on this, which is pretty depressing. But this play works out well. And this kind of goes back as well to last week to Denver Broncos. We were talking about Jameson and the route, running, how he slows himself down, makes himself a good target for the quarterback. And now we're seeing him, more and more involved in some of this route tree, the dig routes. I still don't necessarily love him on like comeback routes, though he did run a beautiful curl route because of his speed was so threatening. But the dig routes now we're seeing, being able to make himself a target, find that window for Goff, right, in the throws that he likes to throw, but also make himself a good target for Goff. And this was a perfect example of this. Of course, the pass protection is there with the three-man rush. They're going into this Tampa 2 look, and here's the key. They come out balanced 2 by 2, but look at the off-ball linebacker. So this is that Tampa 2 middle field linebacker. He's going to open to where Goff's eyes are on a balanced look. Goff starts with the flat, and he also has a high-low threat over here as well. So if he wanted to go that direction, he could. But what Goff ends up getting or making happen here is when he looks this direction, this off-ball linebacker ends up opening that direction. And once he gets that, now it's just about the timing, because now he knows he can come back and hit this dig route. So he's able to settle in the pass protection. Really, I mean, you see it look, you're like, oh, he's lost that block. Graham Glasgow's ability right here to replace his hands right there, boom, and then recover was awesome. That was a great job. But then it's about St. Brown, man, finding that zone hold. The timing is synced up. You watch Jameson Williams run this route, man. You see how he kind of slows it down at the top of the route, and he kind of just settles in there for Goff right here. Bam, he just kind of settles in. Boom. Not afraid to make that grab in traffic. So that was a huge play, I think, for Jameson Williams, and that's the thing that we've now seen recently for Jameson in this offense. Then here defensively, man, this one's pretty simple. Lions go cover 3 blitz. We saw that, right? The Lions were getting aggressive again. They were very aggressive, and I wasn't sure how the Lions were going to approach this. I think we talked about them blitzing. I don't remember, but I think we did. Either way, they did. They brought pressure, and again, they did it with their zone looks. Now, one of the things we talked about, and this isn't the example, but we talked about trying to maybe trap one of those plays, right? Because what Mullins did a good job is if he saw something coverage-wise, if you kind of gave him what your coverage was going to be, he was able to just attack that, get the ball out of his hands. And we talked about, can we trap that? Well, Lions ran a lot of cloud coverage in this game, which to me, in a sense, I think in a way was kind of trying to trap that, because we don't do that a lot, and the Lions started doing that in this game. They didn't end up getting like an interception or anything off it. Mullins seemingly handled it pretty well, but they ran some cloud coverage, meaning that basically a safety, instead of one rolling down and one playing deep middle in a cover 3 like this, right, middle field rolling down, instead you have a safety play an outside third, right? That's usually what that is. So on a play like this, though, it's not that. Instead, we're getting a cover 3 blitz, and this is just a nasty play by Iffy, man. I mean, he plays through the running back here. So the coverage is on point. You really never question. I never question Malcolm Rodriguez's ability to get depth in coverage. Like, it's who he is. I understand that he's limited in coverage, but this is now the second straight year. Every time you watch him in zone, if anything, sometimes he gets too deep. But his depth is never questionable. Watch him flip his head, find the route, take it away underneath. Like, that little thing, I don't care what the grades are. When I watch Malcolm Rodriguez, I think, more comfortable, honestly, than anybody in zone in terms of getting coverage depth. Malcolm Rodriguez is that dude. Like, he just does that. And you can see the Lions handled this soundly. It was very important that Malcolm Rodriguez found the receiver to play underneath here, but Khalil Dorsey carrying Jordan Addison here on the outside, with Justin Jefferson getting that inside leveraged help from Kirby Joseph as that center field safety on this play. Kirby Joseph isn't diving down to take away the crosser because he's pushing vertically, then he breaks out. So Dorsey sticks with the route, which allows Kirby to open up. And then, of course, Malcolm finding the route helps him a ton. Really high level. Now, he'll miss some things, right? He gave up a man coverage. He was peeking in the backfield. They did a flea flicker. He got beat over top. Those things will happen, but just purely getting depth, especially without underneath receiving threat, recognizing that, then saying, okay, let me go find where I can help over top. He does that as well as anybody. But with that being said, this is also just an awesome play from Iffy, because the running back picks it up. Like, they seemingly recognized this pre-snap because they did a hard count. They got Iffy to show blitz, and he tried to back out of it, and they seemingly knew the blitz was coming. And you can see the running back, Ty Chandler, there's really no hesitation for him to just shoot out there and take this away. But Iffy just says, I don't really care if you know I'm blitzing, because I'm just going to run through you and still make the sack. That was just like a disrespectful play by Iffy, man. He did not care, dog. He said, you might know it's coming, but you ain't stopping it. So that was beautiful. Then, of course, on the 4th down stop, Lions are going into a cover 1 look. Now, there's guys open, specifically Justin Jefferson, because, again, they utilize this fast motion, and the Lions end up switching it in the back end. So Kirby rolls down. He has to pick up Jefferson. If the Lions would have asked Cam Sutton to just chase him and then stick with Justin Jefferson at the snap, the issue would have been easy and outbreaking route because of leverage that he would have created with the motion pre-snap, with the fast motion way he's running away from the coverage. So to switch it kind of brackets him in with both Cam Sutton and the safety. So this was open. You can see you also have your rat underneath with Alex Anzalone. Justin Jefferson would have been open. Credit Julian Okora, maybe hurrying that clock a little bit here around Christian Darrisaw, right? He got some of the edge there, and maybe he hurried the clock. Also, maybe a little bit of the interior pressure from Josh Pascal. I mean, that's the key, right? If you can hurry a guy's clock, you could force him to not see things maybe like this. Because, yeah, I mean, by the time I guess that pressure was there, it didn't really fully develop yet. At the bottom of the screen, it was kind of weird because you see Jalen and Iffy seemingly even after the motion, right? Iffy has the tight end, Jalen has the back. But as you can see, the running back is going to leak outside. Iffy is going to chip and then release. And you can see initially it looked like Iffy was like, I'm going to go take the flat away. But then he recognized, okay, now TJ Hawkinson's going to release on this play. So he kind of had to change up his stance. Jalen stayed disciplined and just ran through the running back, which is why Iffy ultimately fell down on this play because he was way off balance. But then it's just Brian Branch. I mean, this beautiful coverage. And he got beat. He did. He got beat one time in this game. We tried to give help elsewhere, and, he got beat kind of a corner route right towards the end of the game before the interception and gave up a huge chunk. However, he also had some great plays. He had a nice pass breakup in recovery, and then this was just beautiful. This is just what he does. Here on Jordan Addison, to stay outside hip right here, he starts to get on top, understanding I have single eye safety, even though Sutton's not really helping him here. Undercuts the crossing route, puts himself in a position to pick this thing off, man. Puts himself in a position to pick this thing off, and it seemingly threw off the quarterback. Like, if you watch on this play, you see how Brian Branch is initially outside leverage, trying to squeeze the route. Then right here, he starts to settle in underneath. Seemingly, the quarterback wanted to throw this probably underneath, away from the safety, right? Just throw it underneath. Brian Branch is on the outside. Let me kind of lead him in front. But right here, you see him kind of fake it because it's like, oh, snap, Brian Branch is now under the route. I can't throw it. But then that pressure, maybe he starts to feel it a little bit. He's like, I still got to get this ball out. He's kind of locked into that one. And Brian Branch is still sitting underneath. Now, I mean, the pass probably maybe like throws it way out here. You have a chance. Cam Sutton does seemingly recognize it. I don't know that he would have been able to actually get back into it and make a play. But Brian Branch, when he has help, he's pretty awesome in coverage. A play like this didn't really have a big result for the offense. What I love about this is Ben Johnson will give you this look, and then he'll continue to give you looks just like it, or maybe the same look again. He'll do something different off it, or whatever that may be. He sets up teams by giving you the same kind of looks over and over. So it's not just about what did this play to do individually. It's about what did it do later in the game when we did a similar type of motion, and all of a sudden they end up losing a player in the back end, and Jahmyr Gibbs able to bounce in for a touchdown run because they end up losing defensive backs because they're focused on this jet motion. Like, that's the difference, right? It's not about what this did necessarily. What I do like about this play, man, is the creativity, and it seems like Metellus kind of handles this pretty well here in the slot. Like, he handles it pretty well, stays kind of disciplined, because they're going to go into this cover 3 look again. Here's your example of a cloud, right? You got Harrison Smith, I guess, playing as a cornerback on this play, so you get the zone run fake. What I like about it is the Lions utilize both Josh and Khalif to kind of sell that they're going to block down on the play, so they really sell this thing as this is going to be a run. So Josh blocks down, and then you also have Khalif Raymond, who initially kind of releases inside to show that he's going to block down, then he pushes up vertical on the play. Now, it seems like, again, Metellus, who's kind of that flat defender, didn't really dive inside a ton, so it didn't give us as much room as we would have liked, but you still pick up a nice little gain, I guess, on first down, 3-4 yards. I like the design, and it's kind of the route detail within the Lions offense. They kept wanting to blitz on these early downs. Got to see a lot of this heavy personnel, and the Lions were willing to just let those guys stick in and block because it was like, hey, we're going to leave extra blockers in. We expect to blitz. If they don't blitz, fine, release late, but we're going to expect to blitz, and I love that. It's something we always would talk about, right? Like, lead those guys. They can release late, but leave them in a block initially, because if they do blitz, we got to have bodies there. And the Lions were fine with doing that. Here they go 12 personnel. They were using 6 offensive linemen. Dan Skipper, it wasn't great for Dan Skipper, but initially you could see they used 2 extra blockers. And defensively, what do? They blitz. So because they go to a cover 3 blitz, 5 blitz, 5 rushers, now all of a sudden they lose an underneath defender. So normally you would have 4 underneath defenders. They only have 3. And then it's the route detail. So when you tie everything up with the play fake, you have St. Brown. He's just going to run this curl route, but then you also tie in the play fake and David Montgomery. So with the run fake here, with the 2 extra tight ends, now Dave Montgomery immediately releases into the flat. Hicks is then seeing that because he's diving for the run. He's not seeing this space behind him, so he's just going to go try to run away and take away this flat route. By the time he recognized that St. Brown has now jumped into his zone, he's got no chance to give any help there. Cameron Bynum, as you can see, is going to try to pass this off like, hey, he's going into the inside, take that away. Because why? Look how St. Brown runs this route. It's always the route detail, right? Watch St. Brown's route on this play. He initially releases inside, pushes inside, and then he starts to push back upfield, and then he sits himself down. So while Bynum's looking at that thinking, okay, this guy's going inside, initially he's like, I'm passing it off. When I got 3 underneath defenders, you got to take that. I got a lot of flat to deal with. You take that, great. Well, now, all of a sudden, Hicks doesn't see it because he's dealing with the back, so by the time he peeks around, he finds it, he's like, okay, I can't help you. And then, St. Brown doesn't continue to run inside to the safety. He runs, pushes back upfield, then sits down, so he makes himself a window away from the safety and essentially the flat defender. Plus, the underneath defender can't give him any help, so it's easy for Goff stand in, balls out quick, and again, the pass pro's on point. This is a guy that we talked about coming into the game, and I'll tell you what, I think we lost the matchup versus him. I'm going to be honest. Like, for a majority of the game, I thought Harrison Phillips was a problem. And you may not have noticed it live. You look at the yards like, oh, no, we cooked that man. We did not cook that man. However, the Lions had some schematic rushing answers that I thought started to work for sure. But this man, number 97, he is a problem. And what I did love is the Lions did a lot of outside zone rushing. What did we talk about coming into this game? Outside rushing I thought was going to be the most impactful because you could try to get away from a guy like this. And I think that it was. The Lions stuck to the outside rushing attack. Second half, it was a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs, right? So to me, coming into it, that's what I expected. Not necessarily saying it had to be all outside zone, but a lot of outside rushing, and the Lions did that. I loved it. But Harrison Phillips was still an animal, just like this on the front side here. You can see we're unable to get across and seal on the play. He's able to stick into the front side of this block, and he ends up kind of stopping this for a short gain. And we'll show more examples, but that was just kind of put that out there. Again, the Lions found some schematic answers, but that guy's a tough matchup. He is underappreciated, I think. Very underappreciated as a very good player in this division that teams have to deal with, especially if you want to try to run the football. However, here, man, this is the play that I pointed out after the game, so I just want to throw it in here. First down blitz. No surprise once again. So they're going to go into a cover 4 look. Cover 4, they're going to bring the blitz. They're going to bring a 5th rusher on this play. So they're playing quarters in the back end. Here is the key, okay? The key is this to me. It's that subtle little motion with Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's 2 things I think they accomplished with this. You can see they have the 2 tight ends out there as well. Heavy personnel. They're willing to stand in for pass protection. They bring St. Brown in this short motion and set him inside. Now, here's where it's key. You can see you can see Metellus step up, and he's going to show blitz off the edge. So the Lions, again, responsibly were sound. They were sound in terms of running back. You go here. We're going to slide to pass pro this direction like this. See how they slide left. Running back, you have to pick up to the right, and that's what he does. But what also I think St. Brown does to that, and it also kind of squeezes him in inside right there. So now Jahmyr Gibbs has a much more straight path to stepping in and picking that up in pass protection, right? The ability to kind of narrow his rush path to the quarterback, and then Goff, who could start with his eyes upfield, and you're not going to immediately get your hands up from Metellus because he's starting upfield, goes into that quick 3-step drop. Gibbs meets him on the play, so he can't get his hands up. And then once you bring in St. Brown, you see the Cameron Bynum shift over, creates a lot more space, and Jameson Williams' speed is so threatening that even though you have this quarter side and you have a lot of depth, you're still going to get a lot of depth when that guy pushes. And he just picks up like 5 yards on the play, but he's so threatening out there wide. And again, it's the subtle little things that the Lions did to just be so efficient on early down specifically. Now, again, this is where the run defense was good. Like here, we're trying to run a sweep, and as you notice, we don't get a clean pin down here block from Sam Laporta on DJ Wanham. He immediately sheds that, which forces Gibbs to work outside. He's not able to get upfield. That's what forced him to keep bouncing, and it limits a potential bigger run there. So, again, they did their job too. Wanted to give them some love for that. Like, they did some really good things. This is an area where we have to be on point. This is really the only example that I point to this is it was this bad. We did miss some blocks in the interior. That happens. All right, I'm not going to act like, man, we just locked them up in pass pro. We didn't, right? Jonah, Graham, we had missed blocks in the interior. However, this one was like one where I'm like, okay, this is going to be Micah, so there's a couple things to this. It's not just about the pass protection as much as it is the down and situation. I believe it was like a 3rd and 10. You can't get there against Dallas. You cannot get there against Dallas because now the routes need time to develop. This is Hicks. It's not like it's a defensive end that's stunning around here. But if you're a second late, man, it's going to be hard for a guy like Frank to, even though he picks it up, it's going to be hard for a guy like Frank to hold that man off. And as you can see right there, it was an incomplete pass, but that's, it's going to really emphasize how good we are on early downs because we get to those spots too often, we're going to have a problem. It's going to be a 3rd and long. Lions are going to play cover 3 blitz. Let me point out one thing that's subtle on this one. This is Kirby's interception, his first one. But it's these little subtle things that I'm loving about Iffy. Obviously, he plays the run like an animal, and we've taken a look at that. How about little things like this, though? So he's stepping down. He's the safety that's going to roll down on this play. But watch his recognition here. So Lions bring an extra rusher. Watch him find TJ Hawkinson right here and then drift that way as he goes into the break before then diving back to the underneath KJ Osborne, right? So maybe there's like, oh, okay, KJ might be open if you do that. But still, just I think that one single step could be massive because if that quarterback's trying to plant, just let that thing rip. If he's going to be standing there because he took that one extra step before diving underneath where he was forced to by the underneath crosser. So I love those little things by him. And then it's Kirby Joseph, right? He rolls to your single high. Notice Justin Jefferson on the outside. That's probably a big reason I think this happened. But as you see, the quarterback's going to look to this out route seemingly on the play. Cam Sutton is going to stay with it. Instead of taking the outside third when this thing breaks, he sticks with it. You can see the quarterback looking there. He flips himself around and dives down. So now it essentially puts Kirby Joseph as the middle field safety with all the outside room in the world because Cam Sutton stuck underneath to just go outside of that. And he ends up probably leaving this ball too high. Credit to maybe some of the pressure there because he was forced to step up into the pocket before just letting this thing, like if you immediately throw that, maybe you got a better chance. But instead, he kind of takes a second to like gather himself and then he lets it go. When Cam Sutton decides to dive down and stick with it, that's when he resets and he takes that shot. And then it's just about Kirby Joseph tracking the football. He does this at a high level. That single high safety ability to just play with a ton of range. I'm assuming on this play they wanted Cam Sutton to stay inside leverage. Kerby Joseph kind of in a two-man look is going to play on the outside. You can see initially he's kind of towards the inside where you could be like, well, what if he just runs an out route? Then it's the first down too. You could probably make that case, so maybe there was just confusion in general. But at the same time, the first down's way back here because it's such a 3rd and long, where while the way that he's continuing to drop back, you're assuming that if something's going to break outside, it's going to have to be a little bit deeper, and Kirby's floating over top that direction, so he's probably going to get to the outside. It's more about, I think, Cam Sutton here, and you can see we've seen this before here in the slot. It's not an easy task, but if they want him to stay outside leverage because the safety help is going to ultimately drift towards the outside, right here at the top where he bites on that outside jab, instead of just staying disciplined and staying in his hip, saying, look, you can go that way, but I'm not letting you get inside. And it's way easier said than done, of course. But he takes that step outside. Now you lose that leverage. Kirby, if he's drifting over top, can't help you at that point, and it's just an easy conversion. So, again, I don't hate the coverage there. It's a two-man coverage. You just have to be disciplined sound. You know, there's a point where your players got to handle business. Here, to me, the Lions give you a little bit more of like a cover 3 cloud look, and to me, this is kind of a little bit of a disguise. It essentially kind of looks like cover 6 as well in the play. You know, you got to flatten your safety over top. I look at it more as like a cover 3 cloud with Kerby Joseph rolling middle of the field here more than anything than just kind of sitting in his quarters lane. But regardless on this play, right, you could look at this as kind of like throwing it off, right? You're thinking, okay, top of the screen, Justin Jefferson 1-on-1, just like normal, whether that was cover 6 or whatever it was. They wanted to get a safety on top, take that away, so they kind of bracket that in here. And this is just as simple as you hit that stick nod route to TJ Hockenson. You can see Alex at the play like, Jalen, get a little bit more depth there, man. Just get a little more depth because there's no underneath threat. I just need you to get a little bit more depth. You can see Alex nearly gets his hand on it, but we just need a little bit more depth on a play like this because the running backs over here, there is no other underneath threat, man. Give me a little bit more depth, protect the sticks a little bit more here. You can feel it go behind you, and you can see that he stays a little bit underneath on this play. And that's where you end up getting that shot. So kind of that seam shot, which could be a weakness of cover 3, is hitting the seams. And as you see right here, it just gets right behind Jalen. Also, I think there's a lot of focus for Iffy staying over top of Jefferson more than anything. So they're kind of able to use that. Like, you want to put 2 guys over there? Well, we're going to go away from that. We'll go right behind that, basically, because the initial focus is going to be to help out Jefferson. So you kind of open up that part of the field, and ultimately you give up kind of the big play right over the seam. Play like this looks to me a little bit more like a 2-man look, but it could be zone coverage, I guess. And I think you could see where kind of the issue maybe comes into play here, where you don't get safety up over top. Kirby is kind of forced to walk down and step underneath, and it leaves Khalil Dorsey one-on-one on an island. I think the Lions were okay with that. You know, they were saying, have someone else beat us. So they're saying, okay, your number 3 receiver, it's not Jordan Addison. We're going to trust our guy one-on-one, and obviously that's not how that worked out here. He got beat over top, and sometimes it's just simple as you got beat over top, man. It's tough, but you did. However, I think some of the motion kind of threw this off. You see the pre-snap motion with the tight end. You also have a tight end inline here, and then the back. Seemingly, it looks like Alex Anzalone has Josh Oliver originally on this play, and then also before the motion, you're seeing Jack Campbell, I guess after the motion too, probably has Munt on this play, and then I guess the back would then be Malcolm Rodriguez. But as you see here with the play fake, they pull the lineman, they really sell it. The inline tight end releases. You can see Alex tries to chase it late. The only reason I really buy into this, maybe what they were doing, is because Malcolm Rodriguez seemingly takes the running back, and Jack Campbell seemingly sits over top of the tight end. But Alex is kind of late here with the run fake, stepping outside. Then he's late to find the tight end. So now Kerby Joseph kind of stepped down, and he takes away the receiver crossing, which leaves a one-on-one with no help because Iffy is going to absolutely send his help over top here for Cam Sutton. It is kind of like a single high look, I guess, in a sense, and maybe it's more of like a cover 1 robber. Instead of just playing the single high middle of the field, Kirby's being aggressive underneath, but Iffy's more so just like, we're going to play him on top, the other guy's got to win. I almost kind of feel like when you do things like this, it's like maybe why not just put then Khalil Dorsey on Justin Jefferson and then put Sutton on their, number 3 receiver. That way you can be like, hey, look, we trust him more one-on-one. I don't know, just thinking out loud. However, he got beat on this play, and I think it's just, kind of as simple as that. He got pushed here. He got flipped around. And you know what? I mean, look, he's not the fastest corner. Credit to him, though. He got back. He contested this. Like, it wasn't like he was completely burnt. It was a good catch, and it was a good throw. And then here on the touchdown, I think I originally was like, man, what is Dorsey doing? Back-to-back plays. We're getting a touchdown. But then I watched it. I'm like, okay, there was seemingly some kind of confusion here between him and Iffy. Why? Well, look, so seemingly, again, goal line man here, you have him on, again, Osborne, and you have Iffy on the inline tight end, Oliver. Well, watch this. He does this short motion, but notice how he doesn't motion inside of tight end. He's still outside. So seemingly the matchups don't switch yet, so there's no reason to communicate. However, once it's snapped, now he releases inside the tight end. So now it's like that's where you need the communication. It's like, okay, Iffy, now that they flipped, are you taking that? or am I still going to take that? And it seemed like Dorsey was looking at like, okay, they flipped. If he's got it, I'll stay here with the tight end. Now, also, maybe it's just this run fake was really good by the back, and maybe they just both dove down because of that. But then it also seemed like if he was like still taking the tight end here, so they both kind of dive down. It's a good run fake. No one ends up taking the receiver who releases through. That can cause confusion, and that's what that was. It was a confusion touchdown essentially that scored that to me. It's their motion on this play to get Khalif Raymond dealing with a Kai Blackman, who unfortunately was hurt on this play, but he's now has to kind of turn and run with him. He wants to be able to find the ball at the top of the route. Khalif Raymond's speed, he kind of pushes into it, and right here as he starts to slow down, Kai Blackman's like, okay, I want to look back and see if I can find the football. I'm inside, let me try to find the football, and that's when Khalif Raymond continues to push, and then he sits himself down, and Kai Blackman is completely lost once he does that. So they use the motion. We've seen this. They've been able to create shots one-on-one with speed, the ability to turn that corner with a ton of speed, utilizing fast motion. It gets cornerbacks in tough spots to actually be able to cover one-on-one on an island. Now, you see there's a little bit of confusion seemingly here with pass protection on Wanham, because you can see they leave in the tight end to block as well as St. Brown, and neither of them really block him initially, so they get the free rusher. It was by that this ball got off, but good anticipation throw. You can see Khalif Raymond kind of came out of it, like trying to give him more space to the sideline, and Goff put it a lot closer to the sideline. He ultimately had to like leave into the air and make a great grab, but still, it worked out. All worked out pretty well on that play. Here, another cover one look, so you're starting to see some of their, okay, let's go to some man coverage, right? Let's try to make them uncomfortable. Maybe we'll go to some cover one looks defensively. We still want to blitz. So we come in saying, okay, they're going to go zone blitz. Now they're like, all right, let's man blitz then. Again, responsibilities here. So when the safety rolls down, by the way, we're going to talk about this, but you see the short motion, and what that does is when the short motion comes in, you see man coverage defensively, now the depth change, because the safety rolls down to line up over the tight end. Now all of a sudden Evans gets depth. That way he can give space there for man coverage. That way there's no, pick play or something created. Well, what you also get when that takes place is you also get the spot of, okay, is Harrison Smith going to blitz and leave the tight end uncovered? That's something we'll keep an eye on. He does not. So because of that, which you're kind of expecting, you can see again, everybody picks up well. See their pass protection, you see Gibbs stands in, he finds the free rusher, and everybody is picked up. Even if the blocks aren't always great, everybody is assigned for. And then when the cornerback drops out, St. Brown has an easy speed out route against another check seemingly at the line. Easy speed out route will pick up the first down. And that's what was the big difference in this one. Goff had answers at the line, which I think changed everything for him. And then, of course, when you get Gibbs the ability to seal up the edge, so here's an example, one of those, really more of those outside zones, but the edge is sealed up by Sam Laporta. It's an excellent block here. And then you're able to turn the corner as Graham Glasgow won this play against number 90. You see him working on the 3-tech. Penei Sewell gives him some help. He steps in front, seals it off. Once Gibbs sees that you got the edge sealed, he's going to go. Well, obviously the speed, the ability to get skinny, and then push back upfield, like that's a good run. We'll take that one. And then here, again, watch this. So you see the kind of the motion there pre-snap. Seemingly again, he's saying, okay, they're back in man coverage again. You can see the receivers, the defensive backs following over. We're going to change it to another man coverage beater. Now on this play, they go into, and you can see Harrison Smith shows that he's going to roll up on this play. Ultimately, this off-ball linebacker, or on the ball, I guess in this case, Ivan Pace is going to take the back out of the play on this angle route, and it would have been open, but you get a blown block on the interior, so Goff couldn't really wait for that to end up happening. And when Harrison Smith drops out, while they're giving you a man look, they're leaving two guys deep, so they're going to a cover one robber, so he kind of takes away everything underneath. Now, with that being said, if you watch Harrison Smith, I think it's interesting here. St. Brown is the first guy to cross his face right there, bam. Harrison Smith doesn't turn and run with that. He still stays underneath, seemingly just reading the quarterback's eyes. This is where Harrison Smith is dangerous, because instead of just like, oh, the guy crossed my face, let me just take St. Brown, and you can see Goff seemingly is just trying to get Josh Reynolds this deep dig route, clear it out, hit him on this dig route here, and Khalif Raymond's kind of that clear out player for the safety, right? They kind of run the dagger on the backside. Harrison Smith doesn't take St. Brown. He instead just says, you know what, you're not looking at that. I'm going to keep floating over. And I think when maybe Goff sees that, and he's like, oh, he's continuing to float. Let me not even try that. Also, at the same time, again, the blown block in the interior, you can't really wait for Gibbs, who may have had more yards on this one, but you get it out with the chip drag, and Laporta does his thing. You get a nice little chunk on the play. This was one of the answers for the run game I thought they started to go to. We've seen this. It's not like, whoa, what are the Lions doing? They're doing something new this week? No, we've seen this. But it's the reverse pivot inside zone. And to me, it shook everything up, I think, with this defense. First off, here you get an eagle front look, 4-eye, 0-4-eye on this play, and you're going to see this reverse pivot. You see it right here, how normally you would open up, offensive lineman is seemingly floating that direction, ball's going to go left, maybe it's in over those outside zones. Well, no, that's actually not what's going to take place. Instead, this ball's going to go to the right, so they kind of counter it, they misdirection it here, but the offensive line is still blocking towards the left on the left side, and on the right side here, you get an excellent job by Graham Glasgow and Penei Sewell. Watch this, by the way, all right, because it's initially Graham Glasgow that gives the help. Sewell Sewell digs his cleats in, man, resets, seals this walls this off for the back, so he cleans that up. And then on the left side here, you get that flow, and you're going to see the defensive tackle, the nose tackle, Smith's going to try to step in front. Why? Because he's able to step in front of these zone runs, so he anticipates. He sees the scheme, and he steps in front. So the Lions' answer to that was, okay, we keep giving him the same look, and he's stepping in front of these runs. We're beating us on the front side. We're going to give you a little misdirection. We're going to show that flow, and we're going to go the other way. And what to me was so big about that, they also did it on the quarterback sneak. They anticipated that Harrison Phillips was going to step in front of the zone block, and when he did that, Goff just went right around him, essentially. So that quarterback sneak that we had, I was like, how did he pick that up so easily? The nose tackle jumped away from the run because Goff just stepped around it. So this, to me, was like the first example of it. Now, you're going to see Sam Laporta makes like the saving of the day kind of tackle. He's giving you this split block right here, and him just getting this little nudge, bam, right there changed everything. If he doesn't touch him at all, this probably is a problem for Jahmyr Gibbs. He might be down in the backfield, but he gets just enough. Gibbs obviously can get out of the backfield quick, and there he makes himself skinny, sees it, boop, slam on the brakes, make him miss, ridiculous run. Should have scored a touchdown, man. I mean, should have, but my goodness, he's talented. But I love that little adjustment. And then here in the passing game, we're going to show this example because there's two examples like this, but this is the first one. Again, watch the back here, Jahmyr Gibbs. See how he does just enough? We talk about doing just enough. Again, doing the little things. Jahmyr Gibbs sees the Metellus coming off the edge, but steps right there inside, boom, and just gets enough of him to allow Goff to get this ball off. Then offensively, we saw a lot of this three-step drop. They go quarters coverage. They want to bring a blitz, so they lose an underneath defender. So Goff is going to start flat, 1, 2, 3, plant, doesn't like it, hitches, comes back, Jameis Williams sitting down, Gibbs does just enough to allow him to get it off. Bam, you pick up a nice little chunk. Staying efficient was the name of the game, and it's going to be again next week. I think a lot of things that you did, maybe not exactly schematically, but a lot of the idea of how you were successful in this game will need to carry over next week to get a win in Dallas. And I think, or this week, to get a win in Dallas. And I think that's a good thing because the Lions have now had a really good practice with this is how we're going to have to do it. And this play was really impressive for me from Goff because now, again, similar type of look offensively here where you're kind of getting that three-step drop. But instead, if you notice on this play, going cover 3 blitz, I believe it is, Lions are going to slide their protection. Watch it here, which is ultimately going to leave Jahmyr Gibbs one-on-one to step in, pass protection. But notice on this play how Jared Goff speeds up his drop back with Harrison Smith. Seemingly he notices it right here. Harrison Smith is coming off the edge. He's walking up to the line. So instead of doing his typical 3-step drop, being predictable, Harrison Smith can jump now in the way because normally we're seeing these guys rush and they're just running into the back. Instead, with these 3-step drops, now Harrison Smith is like, okay, I see what they're doing. I'm just going to go straight for the quarterback, put my hands up, get in that passing lane. Goff changes it, though. Look at this. He subtly changes his drop back. Watch. Instead of the normal 3-step, watch him. He goes 1, 2, 3, and then he lets that ball out. So he speeds up his drop back, not giving Smith the chance to time it up, gets it into the flat quickly, and again, goes forward on first down, or an early down. That, to me, is the kind of thing that was like the little chess match within the game. You're always having that with some of the key players, and man, we want it. We want it with things like that. Here again, offensively, same kind of look, right? There's your inside zone, misdirection on the play, and all of a sudden, look at the blocking, by the way. I mean, the blocking's awesome on this front side. Right here between Sewell and Graham Glasgow. The issue you have is this. With this return motion here, St. Brown, you could see he and Laporta are seemingly very confused. Usually, you see St. Brown maybe step in, Laporta will shoot up, but Harrison Smith just attacks. Laporta stays with his guy, so no one picks up Smith. So now, as Gibbs wants to press this because watch, you see how he presses the line, it allows the linebacker to jump in, then he's able to create this run lane. He's kind of forced to rush it because Harrison Smith is not blocked, plus Kyle Phillips, or Harrison Phillips, I should say, ultimately wins the block on the interior right there on Frank. You can see he ultimately gets off his block and makes the tackle. Maybe if he could have set that up a little bit more, he could have forced Phillips to keep sitting inside, but right there, he's already forced to bounce, so he can't really hold the defense as long as he wants to, and that's just a land. Little things can blow up plays. And little things. One thing I loved about Goff from this one, I understand he was indoors, I understand you don't have weather issues, but Goff's throws, not everyone was perfect, right? He had a little high one to St. Brown, which I didn't love. He had a nice one to Josh, which, is just good coverage. But a play like this, like these are the throws that you're like, oh, okay, you should make that throw. But he was money on these. And we've seen these come out. Sometimes they're low, sometimes they're high, sometimes they're too far in front. Man, he was money. And here to the far side of the field, he was money. Pass protection again. Have we seen a question with it? No. Penei Sewell, he wins. Watch him bring down Pat Jones. Watch him finish him. Got him. All right. Gibbs steps up, picks up and pass pro. He's been huge for us there because he's not forced us to put Montgomery out there when we want a pass protector. But St. Brown, you expect him to win. They put maybe their best corner that was healthy on him and Caleb Evans. And Goff makes a good throw. Steps into it, clean sort of clean pocket, puts it on him. Those were the kind of good throws that Goffs were making, which I think were huge because, again, they kept us in front of sticks. And then, again, you see St. Brown after the catch doing St. Brown types of things. This I like from a schematic spot as well as Donovan Peoples-Jones. Originally, I'm like, man, Donovan Peoples-Jones won his route, which he did. It was awesome. But the Lions also had a schematic difference here, which I loved, which was we saw last week against Denver. What did we try to do? They went two-man, right? They were saying, let's take away Melifonwu. We're going to keep our safeties inside, we're going to keep our safeties inside the numbers. We want you to have to win outside. So Lions ran this little route with J-Mo where he pressed inside, then worked back outside, and Goff tried to hit the shot, and it seemed like he mistracked the football. This time around, Minnesota gives us a similar look. If you know what I'm talking about, you know this makes a ton of sense. Here, Minnesota gives you a similar look. Where the safeties are. They're not floating outside. They're staying inside. What do the Lions do to that? Well, instead of trying to get that shot back outside again, instead, they essentially clear it out. How? Josh Reynolds. Watch Josh Reynolds' route. Outside release initially, trying to pull that safety, right, and a cornerback. Then he breaks back inside, so he can step inside and make it a pick play, basically, for the safety. So he's pulling the safety out of the play. So is St. Brown, I guess, in a sense as well, on this backside by just pushing vertically. That clears it out for Peoples-Jones on a 3rd and 8 to catch like a 4-yard pass. He just needs to win one-on-one, which he does against Evans, run after the catch, good ball so he can run after the catch, and then you clear out the play. Little design, executed well, awesome to see it because last week we didn't complete it. We tried something else. This week we have a different answer for it. This one's just John Kaminsky. This was horrible blocking, seemingly, but when you have John Kaminsky in a 3-2 in a 2-eye, you expect you should be able to run the football. I don't know what the heck they were doing here blocking. This was like awful. Maybe they just like, oh, we don't need to block the guy. I don't know, but he shut it down. Usually that leads to bad things when we have our pass rush package and they run the football. It was awful blocking, but it was a good play. I guess it was a good play by Kaminsky. He said no to that. Here, cover 3 again. The Lions like to do this on 3rd and long. Cam Sutton sits on top of the outside route, doesn't dive underneath this time, right? What do we see last time? He dove. Well, here again with Justin Jefferson, he does not dive on the outside. I think part of this is that maybe he doesn't have that inside threat, so he's saying, okay, I'm just going to stay over top. He communicates with Brian Branch. Maybe he saw this and like, okay, I should probably give him help over top because last time, usually you play that deep third, you pass it off to the flat. In this case, he's like, Brian Branch, go to the flat. I'm staying over top of this one. And he does. So they adapt to it. And then again, Curry Joseph. And let me just make this clear. It's hard to do this. A lot of you probably know, but it is hard to track a football flying in the air. All right? Look, it took me one day of flag football, right, recently to realize, like, yo, you think you're right there under the football and the ball keeps going. It is difficult, but obviously Kirby has a knack for that, and he made a great play on the ball there. I'm not Kirby Joseph. Let me make that clear. That is not me, of course. Okay, back on offense here. This is the one of the knock plays I had for Goff. Here, he should have held the ball longer. I think he may have felt the pressure because obviously they're blitzing on this play from Danielle Hunter. It's picked up really well again. But if you notice here, the slot never drops. So they go cover 3, and they just have 2 underneath defenders because they blitz. The pass pro is picked up enough where when they set up this dagger, which is you're going to pull out the receiver if safety. If not, we're going to take the shot. If you do, we'll take the dig route. And you have 2 fast guys to do that. The issue is this guy never drops. So Goff should stand in and at least push the dig or the vertical route. I understand with the blitz, it kind of hurries everything. You don't want to take the sack or risk a forced fumble. I'm not saying I'm that mad at it, but the guy never drops. He basically just throws it right into a defender. So that was one where it's like the design was there. The execution was not necessarily, but at the same time, the pressure kind of can rush things. Speaking of execution, how about Iffy Melifonwu, man? Beautiful play here. Lions go into that cover 6 look on this play. Look at Iffy staying outside of Justin Jefferson, diving on the play right here. Bam, at the catch point. You see him punch his hand in there. Great ball skills. We've said that many times. And then it was Kendall Vilder. He was the difference maker. This possession was huge. We force a field goal. They then later have to go down and score a touchdown, and they can't. If they needed a field goal, we'd probably lose this football game. But a guy named Kendall Vilder made a play like this, and you could see there's a motion pre-snap. What happened? Kendall Vilder originally was lined up on Osborne. They motion over Justin Jefferson, so they slide down. Tracy now takes Osborne. Kendall Vilder takes Justin Jefferson, and now your single-eye safety is Cam Sutton. Essentially what that does when they both run post or crossers, it takes Cam Sutton out of the play. He doesn't let this thing go and leave the safety one-on-one. Does that? Kendall Vilder is one-on-one with their best receiver, and as an offense, they're like, this is exactly what we want. However, it's not exactly what we want because Kendall Vilder played it well. Outside leverage, sticks on the break there, gets in his hip, contested, incomplete. Yeah, it was physical, but my goodness, that's some darn good coverage, and it was a game changer in this one, and I loved it. Great job there. Here again, another cover 3 look. This is just a ridiculous grab. I mean, there ain't much really to say about this one. You can see Seemed like the quarterback's looking at that out route here. Cam Sutton, he's going to drop off on this one ultimately with the pass. I don't think he necessarily read it wrong. It's just the ball was put up really short. Like, as you can see, the quarterback didn't lead him into this corner route, right? Justin Jefferson kind of just sat in that void. They kept trying to go at this. So instead of leading him, which would have been a pick, now Kirby has to dive back underneath. Two guys make a hit on it. It was a 3rd and 27. We should have recovered the fumble to play before, and they end up keeping the game alive by a play like that. Good play by Justin Jefferson. And then finally, interception. And I want to give a guy credit here, Aiden Hutchinson. Why? He gets a little bit of pressure on this edge. And to me, right there, you kind of force that process to speed up a little bit for Nick Mullins. The best place he could have put this football is he could have probably tried to lead him and drop it into the bucket towards the pylon. But on this backside, watch Cam Sutton. Now, what we do leave open is underneath. They switch release here, which leaves the flat wide open. It wasn't in this case because they had to get all the way up here, so maybe you could have rallied and made the tackle, but it could have been an issue. I understand why he doesn't throw this, but it could have been an issue. And with the pressure, again, you kind of force him to not even pay attention like that. You would like to see Branch probably be a little more aware of what's happening underneath here. But at the same time, he also maybe saved us because of all these crossing routes. He's kind of stepping in this first pass lane, so the ball can't immediately fly here. That would have been a first down. So Branch's depth kind of saved us. However, at the same time, you get a little pressure, which forces him, as he's looking left. Watch Iffy on this play, single high. You see how he sees the crosser, it's crossing his face, he starts to go that direction? Watch him here, though. He recognizes that it's starting to break over that side of the field. He knows he has single high middle field. He's the center fielder. He's the post player. He can't continue to run that way. He's got to trust that his outside corners are going to be playing their deep thirds. And they are, which is awesome. Cam Sutton getting depth like this, stepping out here, allows Iffy to not worry about it. It allows him to plant and start to work back to the other crossing route, which is where Mullins adjusts and tries to throw. Again, he has to adjust, feeling some of that pressure, and he tries to rip this thing in there. Iffy, though, disciplined, balanced, trusts his corners, able to step down and make a ridiculous play on the football. Vilder, now, maybe you could have argued right here, they could have tried to get over top of Vilder. That's maybe the one spot. Again, if you would have threw it out here, maybe you could have tried to drop it on the pylon. It would have been difficult. Vilder, as you can see, maybe doesn't have a great depth, but he's still in a place where that ball is going to travel in the air. He's probably still going to make a play on the football. So to me, this is just really good job by the corners, all being in sync. And I think that's one thing that the Lions have been looking for. It's not like, hey, you can't ever get beat. You're going to get beat. But we need you to be on point. You have to be where you're supposed to be. You have to be able to trust guys and be where they're supposed to be, and this thing will work. And in this case, you can see there's some good examples when we needed it most. It wasn't all game. We showed some bad, but when we needed it most, it was. And that was huge for the Lions in this one. Yeah. So I'm going to leave it here. We're going to move on to Dallas. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.